What's up, man? Um, I don't know how much time I got. My little dude may be going down for a nap in a minute, but I just wanted to jump on here. If I can't really get this off, I'm probably gonna jump back on when I got more time, cause you know, I think a lot of people, uh, respectably, are trying to teach and talk about if they don't consider it to be teaching, they're trying to talk about you know, metaphysics and the occult stuff that's been hidden, history changes, um, things of that nature. Really, my shit is that it, my the stuff that I'm concerned with, kind of, in my opinion, supersedes a lot of that. And what I mean by that is, um, if where you are and what you are and who you are, where you're from, what position in being, and by that I'm trying to avoid saying time because I don't think that really encapsulates what that is. Um, if those things are false, then a lot of that shit don't matter anymore. So that's why I talk about the shit that I talk about. And I've been, as always, like listening to lectures, listening to, old broadcasts from before the Patriot Act and shit like that, trying to get information that makes that kind of links stuff together, that fills in things that maybe don't make sense, or there's a vague understanding of what the situation is. And a lot of this stuff, I gotta stop clarifying when I say things, because you either care or you don't give a fuck. It shouldn't really matter, but you hear a lot of people say kind of crazy shit, and they're just as confused. They're confused, so they're saying things, trying to figure out what it is. And honestly, I respect them more than the people that are like, "Oh, that's crazy," because at least they're trying to figure the shit out. So I was listening to a broadcast. I forgot the name of what the show actually is, but Art Bell. Art Bell is a fucking G. He did shows for a really long time on AM radio, talking about a lot of the shit that we're talking about now. This dude was before a lot of people. He's on some, like, as far as, jumping out there first, he's on some David Icke type shit. I don't know if I like David Icke. I feel like he might have got flipped or something, but that's besides the point. This is from 1995, right? He's talking to a dude, a doctor, who wrote a book about HAARP. HAARP, HAARP. If you don't know what that is, I'm not finna explain it. Go look that up, because it's, and look in different places. Don't go to fucking harp.org or some goofy ass shit. Go look it up, because it's very, very, it's pertinent to shit that's happening right now on a bunch of different levels, because it's a multifaceted technology, and it's been worked on since, before the 80s, I'm sure, because they started going live with and testing a lot of the technology in the 80s. But so he's talking to this doctor who put out a book recently in 1995 about HAARP, the studies that they did, that they were doing at the time. He was able to find a lot of documentation talking about what they were actually doing, because back then they weren't really hiding it. They were kind of keeping it under wraps, but if you wanted to know, then you could know. And a lot of the details that have to do with HAARP, we are closer to them than a lot of people are willing to acknowledge. I don't know if that's just, you know, being oblivious leads to a better quality of life from day to day, or fear, or what it is. But when you break down how HAARP works, you're looking at it. We're looking at it right now. And if you think about, so we have all these 5G towers that are supposedly for, telecommunications purposes, right? And when you think about the launch of that system, when did that happen? When did the build out and the launch of the 5G network, the 5G infrastructure happen? It happened when you were all posted up in your houses forcibly, right? That's when that happened. Most of it. Another question: why are some of those towers, they call them, hidden? Why are they disguised as trees? And the immediate answer that you get is, oh, because we don't, it looks ugly, we want to make it look more natural, blah blah blah. Why the fuck would they give a fuck about making shit look natural? They don't care about that. They've never cared about that. And if they did care, all of them would look like fucking trees or something, right? So I'm listening. I'm not trying to, put this out like this is information that I went and researched all over the place and found out. I kind of did, but listening to this specific part, the build out and how the technology works on a broader scale, because a lot of us know that we have a little icon on our phones that say 5G, and we've been told that that's how our internet works better now, and so on and so forth. But I don't know if I believe that. I'm not saying that it couldn't also be used for that, but a lot of the time I'll be out in the wilderness, and it'll switch over to 5G and my internet is worse, right? Have you noticed that at all? It's I never said to myself, oh, that's kind of weird. I always was like, yeah, that's because it's not for that. It's not for the internet. It never occurred to me that that's what it was for. And I always had a loose understanding of what HAARP was, but just the functionality of it, not necessarily how the framework and infrastructure work. So this dude is explaining how, the base, the home base for HAARP is obviously in Antarctica, and they have different installations there that have different purposes, right? Then he starts talking about how the technology works, and he talks about how they essentially set up local towers, local access points, or not access points, but local technology. I'm gonna leave this shit kind of broad just to get this off. That shoot particles, low frequency particles, up into the atmosphere, up into a certain part of the atmosphere. And it's the same part that you would, around the same part that you would see aurora. That's why when you look up HAARP and what the name means, it references aurora, like they're studying and looking into aurora and that phenomenon, what it means, and electromagnetic, phenomenon, stuff like that. They could be doing that. I mean, it's money. Think about how much money they just print. Fuck taxes, how they just, I don't even think that shit really matters. I think the higher you go up, money is not a real thing. You just say it to people that have less of it so that they think you are spending it, right? So maybe they are studying aurora also, and maybe they are manipulating aurora also, as they've been making claims that they've been doing recently in this time, 2023. But they shoot particles, low frequency waves, up into the atmosphere, and they create a kind of mirror effect with those frequencies. And you can use that mirror to bounce frequencies back down to the planet, to the realm, the plane, whatever you want to call it, and you can guide that effect, meaning that you can target places with that, right? And if you have looked into, frequency and sound at all, you know that it has the capability to affect particularly, the human being's temperament and body, um, on a really wide scale. It can do a lot of shit, just depending on what that frequency is. And it's not just humans; it can do it to animals too. Obviously, anything with a brain is my understanding, but it can change your mood. It can cause confusion. It can cause aggression and anger. It can make you physically sick, ill. It can, I mean, just imagine it, and it can probably do it. Frequency is something that you should also look into. Um, I mean, frequency can freeze water. Sound can freeze water. It can start a fire. It can levitate things. Um, you know, all the effects on the brain and perception and all this other shit. So it's very, very capable. It's something that they have known that, is something very important to be knowledgeable on the applications of, but have not made that very apparent to the average person. And so, you might see some videos of people levitating some shit with some sound, or if you look a little bit deeper, you can find the videos of just using a regular speaker to make a spigot or a spout of water, do tricks, basically. Spirals and pulses and all kinds of shit. So imagine the capability of that being used on the human body. And then he went on to explain that if you wanted to broaden the receptive capability, meaning like where you can train those low frequencies, you would need to create an array of those same local towers, those same local apparatuses that are used to receive the low frequencies. Now, again, when did those towers go up? Why did they go up during the time where people were not out and walking around? If you've ever seen someone work on one of them, or if you've seen pictures or video of someone work on them, why are they wearing a straight radiation suit, a hazmat radiation suit? I mean, the answer that they would probably give, once again, is something that makes it explainable. Oh, well, it is, a frequency, and that could harm the body and shit. But like, I think that the extent that could happen and the intent behind it are where the indiscretion is, where the lie is. And if you think about how many of those towers went up in that short amount of time, it was like that was the only focus. That was the only focus. While everybody was beating the fuck out of each other, screaming at each other about red and blue and all that old gay shit, and I can't believe you're trying to cut your own dick off so you can put some tits on, like all these things that people were arguing over, burning down other people's shit. They were building that whole time. They were kidnapping niggas and doing all kinds of shit also, but that's because their resources are unmatched. Domestically unmatched. Especially if you're not paying attention, then they don't even have to try to match it. They're just doing other shit and the shit that you're paying attention to. Very easy. And so I just keep thinking to myself, like, this affects so many things. It's like the same shit that I've said before. It's fucking genius. It feeds everything else, just like usual. The social engineering behind that alone is crazy, because there are many, many side effects to the human body from this technology. And it just so happens that a lot of those side effects have been declared to be certain sicknesses and illnesses within the past 10, 20, 30 years. New medications for a lot of these side effects have been created in the past 10, 20, 30 years. Just completely new illnesses have been, you know, suddenly discovered. And you can't necessarily say, oh, well, that's just not a thing. That's so new. Because the two answers you'll get back are, well, look at all this technology we got around us now. We're all changing. Or, I don't believe in this shit, but they could say evolution, evolution, pollutants. There's all kinds of reasons that they can give for these new illnesses and new problems that we all have. When in reality, if you can find it and you see the side effects and just effects, because side effects would denote that it's not intentional. Side effects would mean that it's not, intended. These are intended effects, a lot of it is intended. And the ones that aren't intended, they're like, all right, well, you gotta fucking break an egg to make an omelet, so who gives a fuck? But that puts money into the same, all this shit is owned by the same six, I believe, conglomerates, which are owned and operated by a specific group of, families and let's call it I don't know, I'm not fucking gonna call it a cabal, I'm so sick of these words, but a secret group of fucking people. Very small, less than 1% group of people. So everything that generates money is funneling up to those same people. So all of these things, it's almost like it was built out so well that anything they do, as long as they put a little bit of fucking thought into it and make sure they're not stepping on some other toes, and sometimes they don't give a fuck about that either, it not only makes that thing work well and benefit them, it helps the other things. It's just built into the system. It's a feature, not a bug. Then you think about again the capability of frequency, and let's say you shoot it in another direction. Maybe you have to change the frequency a little bit or a lot or whatever, but now you can manipulate the weather. You can make it rain. You can make it snow with using specific chemicals that are somehow dispersed up there. I don't remember seeing nearly as many planes, leaving shit around in the air. So there's that. Plus, that's not conspiracy. They made it very, very public that it's called cloud seeding. They talked about it in a positive light. They started trying it out, I think in the Sahara or in the Middle East or some shit, saying that they were trying to, help out with more rain to cool it down over there and bullshit like that. But and maybe they did test it there first, but it's used all over, and it's to do specific shit when they want to do specific shit. So, I mean, the level to which a, don't say that word. Come on now. I just noticed you said that. Like, you're cool and whatnot, but just, and I'm not trying to police how you talk and shit like that, but if you say you drop N-bombs and shit like that, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck how people talk. I'm worried about way more, in my opinion, important shit. But then other people start coming to me like, oh, you gonna let these people drop N-bombs on you? I don't give a fuck about none of that stuff. So I guess I'll say it like this. If somebody has a problem with how other people talk on the channel, go fucking talk to them. Go talk to them. Don't talk to me. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to jump off here in a minute because I think he's probably back and asleep, my son. And I'm going to come back around to this later, and I might repeat myself because I just start talking. I don't know what the fuck I be saying. I just know that it's real because I'm studying it constantly, and I just kind of brain vomit the shit out. But that is HAARP. And the technology within it has it to do with most of what is a lot, not most, a lot of what is going on, and that brings up a lot of questions, and that is usually, as you may know, my main focus is questions, like questions that I don't feel like people ask enough or focus on enough. I feel like people are focused on, goofy religion mindset type shit. They tell themselves it's not religious, but if you are having faith in a thing to come save you, whether it's fucking Jesus or Buddha or Allah or Hare Krishna or fucking Santa Claus, that's all religion. It doesn't have to be Christianity or Islam or Judaism. It doesn't have to be any of that to be a religious mindset. It's a religious mindset. So like they got y'all thinking that you have gotten away from this religious mindset so that you can have that I'm above that. I'm in a good place. So that you can believe a whole new set of shit that they have tailored to distract you and keep you from paying attention to the shit that they're doing right fucking in front of you as usual. So I ask these questions, A, because I fucking want to know, but also because I don't see many people asking them. I see people talk about shit sometimes, and usually they're on one focus. But that one focus is not the only thing, and it doesn't answer the entire question. The entire question is how much of this is controlled? Because to me, when I look around, all of it is controlled. Like, some of y'all like to joke when people get to talking about Matrix shit, but that's what the fuck this looks like. If you can control weather and perception, and you can control how a person fucking feels and acts and shit to a degree, because I think that there are a good number of beings that are down here in here that for one reason or another, I think it is frequency. I try not to fucking sound goofy when I talk, because I think there's too much fucking happy, love, and light mysticism in the way people talk, and it throws people off. But I do think that has to do with frequency. I think that there is something to that, and if you can get to that point, and it doesn't mean that you're fucking happy all the time, it just means that you're just on a certain wave, man. Whatever that means to you, try to do that, because it seems like higher frequency, as a baseline, really helps in combating some of this shit. And it's not to say that it's really been directed at anybody specifically, but at the same time, it has been directed at whole towns and cities of people. And you've seen it. You just maybe didn't know you saw it. And the people that it didn't really affect, they're just looking like, man, these niggas are crazy. I'm going to the house. Those are the people that are on a frequency that is unfuckwittable. You know what I mean? So you can get there too, if you are a you. If you are you, and I am me, and you are me, then I am we. That shit's gay, son. I'm gonna keep this, if nothing else, getting this shit, like saying this shit out loud instead of thinking about it. I say different shit than what I think when I'm studying, or when I'm just like kind of reflecting on it after I study. So I don't give a fuck if people watch this shit or not, to be honest, because it's in the books. You can go back and find it. Other people can find it whenever. You know what I mean? But also, it's helping me because I'm trying to figure this shit out, and there are other people also trying to figure it out, but only sections, only like quadrants of it, and regardless to all that, none of that matters for me trying to figure it out. So it's important. I'm gonna try to like remember this stuff that I talked about, because I'm gonna jump off, but I might not. So I don't know what the fuck ever. I'm bring it back around to this later, and I'm gonna try to kind of tie it together to more shit, because if you can't connect the dots to how much this affects, how much this controls, and what that means, and what questions should come after you realize that, then I'm gonna say it and maybe help you. And if you still don't get it, then I mean, fuck you. You know, I'm not really doing it for you, I guess. Um, I just feel like there are too many people that this bothers for some reason. Like every time I go up, there's nobody else in here but one person trolling. You know what I mean? Why is it so important to you of what I'm talking about for you to be here every time? To me, that means that I'm onto something. Whether you know that you are trying to hinder that or not, by taking my attention off of it, or by trying to, like, you know, whatever. It just, anybody that I see saying stuff that actually matters or makes sense as far as this real shit goes, there's always people that want to play in the comments but be like, oh, it's just innocent trolling, or they're angry at something that they're saying. You don't have to be here. You know what I mean? It's more so that than anything. And if you can't tell that this is like, I'm trying to work some serious shit out for myself or for people I care about or whatever, that's cool. And I'm not even gonna say, oh, you can't be here, but I want to say that because I think it's evidence of a thing, whether that's evidence of something within the troll people or evidence of the stuff that the person is saying when the people seemingly uncontrollably can't help themselves but to come in and keep trying to, you know, joke or do whatever. To me, all that means is that there's something important to it. I'm gonna be back though.